Привет.
Sorry for the interruption, and I like Mr. Abdullah Mutawa continue the report.
Yeah, I was muted, sorry. Do you see the screen I'm showing now?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, this slide has never been published anywhere, and it's unique that it will show and summarize the challenges in Arabic language. Let me explain it here. These are three isolated characters in Arabic language. The red is wow. So we write, if you don't know, we write from right to left. So this is the first character, this is the second character, and this is the third character. So this is wow. I think my screen has changed. Okay, fine. So this is wow. I color it in red, only the W, wow. And this is lam, this is lam, L-A-M, lam, and this is dal, And when it is isolated, we call it like this, wow, lam, dal, as an isolated. But when we put it together, we need the vowels. So this is, so there is no vowels. When we write it in a newspaper, or when we see it in general, or even on the streets, we write it without the short vowels. Okay, we write it like this, and the TTS system will take it like this. But let me explain. These are the vowels. See the dialectics, and there are some small signs on top and below. If we have this minus sign, see the minus sign on top of the dal, the first one, I remember it was dal, I read it do. Sorry, the dal, it is, this is fatha, this is the A, the short vowel A, so this is da. So I will read this wo li da. Now if I have this minus sign on top of each and every one, see I have the A, the short vowel following each of the characters. So this will be wa, la, da. So I read this walada. This is the dhamma, this sign on top, this is you, and this is the short vowel I. So this is read wulida. This is walada. So only by putting this articulation, short vowels, it is totally different meaning. Now, wulida means born. Walada means gave birth to. So it is an opposite meaning. And we both write them on the same we don't put this articulation when we write a newspaper, or so it's really complicated. And we have like the same for the same 3 characters, we have like four different meanings. 4 different meanings, and the TTS system will only take this one. Will only take this one, and we don't feed it with these articulation, and we don't feed it with the short vowels, because we don't write short vowels and normally only for maybe maybe for the children, or we're giving like Arabic for non-Arabic language. We write this so that they know which meaning we meant. But normally it is written like this. So these are the challenges that it is very similar. If I put, for example, a TTS system in English and feed it with characters with no vowels, so bed will be BD, and hotel will be HTLE, without E even. So it's, and I will leave the challenge to the TTS to guess what this word is based on the context. So it has to have the full image of the context. So this is why if TTS in Arabic is like 90%, this means it is smart enough to if any other language use these techniques and implement it to other languages, it will be like same as fault tolerance. If some of the characters in other languages is missing, the words are vague, it will automatically have smart recognition of it. And in this slide here, we have the methodology. We took the text, we did some normalization, linguistic analysis, and then take the phonemes, do the normal things that we usually on any other language. We had our base data set consists of 1,813 files with spoken utterance, text grids, and all the audio files has been trained into Tacotron 2. We have like the speech synthesizer has the sequence to sequence model, Griffin limb, vocoder. All these have been used to analyze and train the system. Then we had this is the spectrogram resulted from, this is the weakly trained and this is the well trained. We can see how it is very showable here, how the well trained it isolates each and every phoneme in the speech. It is very shown that the colors with the dark lines here, it's giving how it is very well categorized. Here it is not. And well, this is our conclusion slide here. So building a solid synthesis structure for the Arabic language, surely, as I explained, will open the doors to expand it to a variety of ways, maybe other languages, maybe connect and have smart TTS for the future 4th industrial revolution. The success of Tacotron implementation to Arabic text was due to the written Arabic scripts are flexible and general characteristics of it. The Tacotron pre-trained system, best advantages in it doesn't need any phoneme segmentation, and the phoneme segmentation was giving some problem, but in Tacotron there are a pay bill for using this. Some of the high frequency is will get it will not be very clear, disordered. But since we are implementing it for Arabic and using the smart capturing, it will fill this gap. Future work, we are looking to train the model with different techniques and to perform subjective evaluation. So this is in our project has been funded by Kuwait University Research Grant QE 0416. I really thank you for your attention for this conference, and I'm happy to have any questions related to this. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your interesting and original research. Well, please, questions. Oh, well, I have a question. And did you make additional researches? And how correct does your system recognize Arabic texts? Because the way is the word articulated, there may have different meanings, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, and what is the probability of your system, and what the probability of recognizing the word Arabic word erratically? Do you understand the question?
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. The recognition rate, it's around 90%. So we are still trying to increase the recognition rate. And actually, it has been trained on one data set. So if we would like to have it expand with different, like the data set was Jordanian standard Arabic, Amel. We would like to have it trained on different gender, different parts of the Arabic word, so that it will have like more richness in the data, and it can tolerate even better results.
Thank you. So your system takes into account the fact that some people can have physiological defects for pronouncing some vowels or consonants, I think, and your system can recognize without any errors.
Yes, yes. Yeah, this is the advantages of the system. Is you don't need to have all the vowels into the character sets, so you can write in TTS words without the short vowels, and it can still guess and bring based on the context of the whole sentence. It can bring the correct meaning and voice of that character set.
Thank you very much. So your research is of great use, and the research itself is very interesting to us. We haven't dealt with Arabic language till this until this time. So thank you very much for your report. So if you don't have questions, so we can move on to next report by Maria Shvedova and Ruprecht von Waldenfels, entitled Regional Annotation within GRAC, the large reference corpus of Ukrainian issues and challenges. Well.
Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Maria Shvedova. I'm from Kyiv National Linguistic University, and my co-author is present here, Professor Ruprecht von Waldenfels from Friedrich Schiller Jena University, and I'll share my presentation now. Sorry. We will talk about the general regional annotated corpus of Ukrainian, large reference corpus of Ukrainian. We discuss the design and the development of this corpus with some case studies. The general regional annotated corpus of Ukrainian version 11 comprises 728 million tokens in more than 90,000 texts. The time span of the texts is from the beginning of the 19th century to the recent years, corresponding to the modern Ukrainian period. All the texts are morphological annotated, and 85% have also regional annotation, and the corpus is tagged by genre and style. The project has been created since 2017. Here is the starting page. And here are the logos of our partners that greatly support the project, spreading the information about it among the students who contribute into the collection and annotation of the corpus. GRAC is a type of reference corpus, often called national corpus. It is intended to be a universal tool for a wide range of research tasks. The problem of representativeness and balance of the corpus is of high relevance, and corpus linguists often refer to it. The bulk of the corpus usually consists of fictional, journalistic, and academic texts in various proportions that are more or less conventionally designed to provide a corpus snapshot that representative for standard language in question, even though its contents may not strictly correspond to the proportions of different types of text that are actually created within the language community. In 1993, Douglas Biber wrote that a corpus that would be consistent with the real language practice in a community would have roughly 90% conversation. He noted that very few people ever produced published written texts or unpublished written and spoken texts for a large audience. However, it is clear that by the 2020s, with internet and electronic publications widely available, this proportion has changed. People produce far more written texts, including those accessible to a large audience. The statistical representativeness of the corpus of traditional written text is also problematic. It is practically impossible to assess the correspondence of a corpus to the linguistic reality. since there are no mechanism that would allow us to accurately measure the representation of different texts. Practically, the most reliable corpus in terms of representativeness is one that enables us to work with a maximally wide range of text types and with as large and diverse samples of this type as possible. In Ukraine, linguists have been made attempts to transfer the structure of reference corpora to a Ukrainian language corpus. The Ukrainian language corpus project was conceived by the team under the supervision of Nataliia. It contains large subcorpora of fiction, journalism, and academic texts, not unlike the reference corpora of other languages. In a number of theoretical works, Orisa Demska proposed a complex structure of future Ukrainian national corpus. We believe that when creating a reference corpus for a particular language, we must not only focus on universal aspects of the structure of reference or national corpus. It's also important to take into account the specific features governing the variability of a particular language when designing a reference corpus for this language, as they should be available for study in the corpus. In the case of standard Ukrainian, a factor of prime importance is geography. Ukrainian was a polycentric language for a long period, an important factor behind the emergence of some modern lexical and grammatical variants. There are languages that function in different countries and have multiple local variants. For example, English and Spanish. Modern Ukrainian is not a pluricentric language, strictly speaking. It does have a common norm with variants. They are related to the fact that it was formed historically in different centers. You can see a map on this slide. Until the Second World War, the bulk of the Ukrainian-speaking territory was divided between different states. There were cultural centers in both parts, and the language enjoyed a different status both before and after the 1917 revolution. A large Ukrainian diaspora in America and Europe has been formed since the end of the 19th century, and it became more numerous after the war. The regional markup of the corpus is based on the contemporary administrative structure of Ukraine. This is partly because of pragmatic reasons. Administrative borders are clearly defined, and it is possible to look them up in standard sources. While the administrative structure doesn't necessarily reflect the dialectal landscape of Ukraine, this choice does have a social linguistic dimension. The administrative regions are then united in macroregions consisting of the western, eastern, central, southern, and northern area. Kyiv, as the capital with people coming from different regions, is treated as a separate macroregion. See the macroregions on this map. The regional annotation of the corpus is based on administrative borders, but macroregions are formed taking into account the Ukrainian dialects. The North region includes most of the territories of Northern Polisia dialects. The West includes the Southwestern dialects, the Southeast and Central regions, respectively the Steppe, Slobozhanщina, and Dnieper dialectal groups. For regional text markup, GRAC has the attributes doc country, doc macroregion, doc region, and doc log code, which for convenience contains a set of all regional attributes. We distinguish separate values of the attribute doc log code for the Ukrainian diaspora. Post-Soviet countries has doc macroregion V, and other countries doc macroregion Z. See the graph how our texts are distributed by the Ukrainian macroregions. You see that essentially it's about the competition of Kyiv and Lviv and West macroregion. The other regions have much less texts, and the same by year. Media texts, paper, news, sites on the web are marked by the region where their respective media appeared. Other texts are annotated by the region where the author or the translator for a translated text was born, studied, or lived for more than 10 years. The regional annotation is thus generally linked to the author of text, where such the author is available. A single text can belong to different regional subcorpora if the author or the translator was born, studied, or lived for a long time in different regions, or if there are more than one author from different regions. The correspondence of the regional subcorpora of GRAC to the dialect map is conventional, not only because the borders of the dialects are reproduced in the annotation of the corpus only approximately. First of all, it is the case because GRAC is a corpus of written texts oriented to the literary standard. We, of course, cannot expect dialectal authenticity from modern written texts of different regions, but there is a possibility to find indirect traces of dialectal influence on the regional written language. These traces form the basis of regional language variability. We move to case studies that illustrate three factors behind variability of modern Ukrainian. Historic dialects, historic state borders and local standards, and diaspora. An interesting example of dialect-influenced variation are the regional names for potato. The dialectal atlas, see the map, gives different names of potatoes in Ukrainian dialects of different origin that are widespread throughout Ukraine. Kartopля, baraboля, bulba. Podillia is a region of predominant use of the baraboля variant. In Polissa, next to the Kartopля variant, the atlas shows a significant spread of the bulba variant. The greatest variety of potato names is recorded in the West. In addition to the names common in other regions, Kartopля, baraboля, bulba, in Галичина and Bukovina, Mandeburka, Harbuz, Bib are attested. In Transcarpathia, Krumpli. In contrast to the dialectal speech reflected in the atlas of the Ukrainian language, in the written text presented in GRAC, one can see one main variant of Kartopля, which predominates in all the macroregions. See the graph. In the text of North, the main lexeme Kartopля has a strong competitor, Bulba. It's gray. As for the Mandeburka variant, the corpus gives 30 examples, mostly from the text belonging to the Western macroregions. Here you can see examples from Rivne, Ivano-Frankivsk, and Lviv regions. Note that in the example Kuchutse, Krumpli, Kartopля, Mandeburka, Baraboля, Bulba, Yakshe, we have a meta-linguistic use of the word. And we have largely the same situation with the variant Krumpli. It is widespread in Transcarpathia, and the corpus gives the word Krumpli mainly in Transcarpathian texts, but a smaller part are examples from texts describing Transcarpathia by authors unrelated to these regions. This is a meta-linguistic use of the word as a description of the local dialect. See two examples on the slides. It is clear that for such cases, the region of the text is irrelevant. Thus, this is seen that the use of originally marked words is relatively higher in the written texts of those regions where they are common in oral speech. But this doesn't mean that they cannot occur in the texts from other regions. Authors may well use them to describe the local language or borrow them for some other specific purpose. Obviously, we must also take into account their frequency. Now we pass to the next case. Many phenomena are practically unaffected by the regional parameter. For example, attributive noun phrases with different word order, adjective plus noun as in Dobry den versus noun plus adjective as in Den Dobry. Here you can see a relative number of matches in Kiev and West macroregions. However, some differences in such graphs can be seen for the texts of the end of the 19th century, when the influence of the Polish model noun plus adjective in the Western Ukrainian variant of the standard language was noticeable. This is influenced by the respective historic variant of standard Ukrainian. In many contexts, phrases and terms of the noun plus adjective model that are directly borrowed from Polish are attested. The corpus also demonstrates a number of other features of the Western variant of the Ukrainian literary language up to the 1940s. Now we pass to the final section of our talk, a case study of the diaspora language and its impact on distribution of variants. GRAC is the first and so far the only corpus of the Ukrainian language which contains texts of the Ukrainian diaspora marked by country of origin. They may be allocated to a separate subcorpus for research. The subcorpus of the diaspora in GRAC version 11 counts about 40 million tokens. It contains large parts of fiction and non-fiction and some academic literature and texts of other styles. GRAC shows specific features in the language of diaspora with regard to the texts of Ukraine proper. For example, the norm of declension of borrowed nouns with the final O. You can see them on this slide. In the published texts of authors who lived permanently in Ukraine, the declension of borrowed nouns with the final O was possible until about the end of World War II. Then, in the Soviet texts of 1950-1990, there is practically an unambiguous norm according to which these nouns are invariable. After 1991, cases of declension of the nouns in questions reappear in the texts of the corpus, but the share of this variant is considerably lower than in 19th first half of the 20th century. In the text of the Ukrainian diaspora, the share of borrowings in O with the endings of indirect cases in all years is larger compared to the text written in Ukraine. However, the declined norm is not always consistent. So, nowadays, when a common literary norm has already been formed for Ukrainian as a whole, its vocabulary and grammar nevertheless remain highly varied, which is related to the history of formation of the Ukrainian language and the influence of the dialects. The original notation of GRAC really shows these differences and does provide further insight for the study of regional variation of the written Ukrainian language. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you very much. So we have 5 minutes for discussing the report. And then when we restart the session, we begin with another report. So please, questions.
May I start, please?
Yes, you're welcome.
So thank you very much, Maria, for your immense contributions to the development of Ukrainian computational linguistics and corpus linguistics. I have a question concerning challenges you face in the process of development of corpus and your plans for future.
We really have a lot of plans about the challenges considering this regional annotation. The main problem is that this annotation is not accurate enough, that it's impossible to make an absolutely accurate annotation. I said that the borders of dialects are a bit different than our borders of our annotation, and we really don't know what to do with the texts of authors who haven't lived permanently in the same place, and how we should count this the region of these texts. But the majority of texts, the most part of text of corpus, which are marked by the regions near 60%, have only one region, and it's good, but it's clear that the other texts which belong to different macroregions could belong to different macroregions should be distinguished separately in individual way. And all this causes not problems but questions for further research. And we have many plans. We are discussing many possibilities of, and we are open for discussion, and we invite you to take part in building this corpus, to contribute your ideas and realize it on the base of our corpus. So we now the semantic annotation is a new project. We talk a lot about it, and we will also look at these vectors. I don't know much about the vectors, but it's very interesting for me, and we also talked yesterday with Vasil Starko that it will be great to count vectors on the base of GRAC, and so on.
Thank you for your answer. Thank you.
May I ask?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you for your report. I would like to ask and exact, you presented the words by macroregions, the dialects, their features and examples. Did you use a special dictionary of the groups of the dialects, or there was another way? How did you connect the dictionary? Or some list of
dialectal dictionary?
Yes.
No, we didn't use it. Only Atlas of Ukrainian language, and no dictionaries. We for GRAC markup we use Vesum dictionary, but in Vesum there are no dialectal texts.
But how did you distribute the words by macroregions?
We didn't do that. We distributed texts by macroregions, and we oriented the author where he lived, where he was born, or for media texts, the place where it was published.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much.